to Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. I'm Caroline Hendershot, joined alongside by Quincy Williams, Ethan Greenberg. Gentlemen, the Jets are now 2-3 after a loss to the Minnesota Vikings in London, 23-17. What are our initial thoughts coming off of that game?
Yeah, unfortunately, it feels like it's the same old story with this team. You know, they're starting too slow. They can't figure it out on offense. Defensively, they're getting it done. You know, I think they played a great defensive game, but offensively, they just can't figure it out. They don't have an identity. They don't know if they want to run the ball, and when they do, they can't get it going. In the pass game, there's so much miscommunication. Quarterback's not getting into the guys. The receivers are falling down, dropping passes. So you just can't win games like that. Special teams is still being pretty consistent, but offense and defense just aren't getting it done.
And it was a tough game, kind of a weird game for the Jets, too. You think about what happened in the first half. 17 points allowed, only 6 allowed in the second half. And no matter how you break this game down, because there's a lot of ways to look at it, the Jets had an opportunity late to tie this ball game. You think about that last drive where the Jets are in Vikings territory. Their chances to win the game ended on the Vikings 9-yard line with an uncharacteristic day from Aaron Rodgers, throwing 3 interceptions against the Minnesota Vikings. The first play, Aaron Rodgers said it, kind of a weird play or a tip of the cap to Andrew Van Ginkel. And really, you think about this last drive right here. That play right there to Garrett Wilson gets the Jets near midfield. Earlier in that drive, though, the Jets tried to go deep to that guy, Allen Lazard. Couldn't quite hold down the ball there. Nice coverage. And then, really, you think about what could have been for the Jets, where Aaron Rodgers looks for Garrett Wilson on this play right here. Would have had a walk-in touchdown. A little bit of an overthrow from Rodgers. Just seems to be a miscommunication. And then the drive ends with the interception. And Rodgers said he just kind of underthrew that ball.
Yeah, you mentioned it, though. What about all of the other missed opportunities that were prevalent throughout the game?
Well, I think that's really what we saw in the first half, Quincy, where you think about Quincy Williams recovering the fumble, but not being able to score. He got tackled by Sam Darnold. He put the Jets in a good position where they could have scored. And right here, it's just a miscommunication, Quincy.
Yeah.
You find the ball. He would have been to the house there. That would have put the Jets up 7-3. Instead, the next play or that next drive, Andrew Van Ginkel takes it home for a pick 6. Now the score is 10-0. The Jets get 4th and 2. They don't go for the field goal, and instead they get stuffed. And Sauce Gardner could have negated what was a C.J. Ham touchdown on the following play, but he couldn't corral the football. And, again, that's meat on the bone for the Jets. And if you're a Jets fan, that's probably what you're looking at as a missed opportunity.
So many missed opportunities. I mean, even on that Quincy fumble return, I mean, it almost feels like you wish you could take the controller and tell him to pitch it back as he's falling, just to kind of keep the game going, right? Because there's just so many things that, as a fan, you're hoping that things will look a little different. And sometimes it just feels like same old Jets situation, right? Like that fumble return, that should have been a touchdown, because then you look at Van Ginkel, he returns it for almost the same amount of yards, right? An easy return for him. The Jets offense, just so many different opportunities. And it's weird, right? Because as you're watching the game, you're like, man, they're really trying to get it to Garrett Wilson. And you're happy about that because we've all had the conversation. Garrett Wilson's just not finding his way. They're not communicating well. 22 targets to Garrett Wilson. And then you see him getting the ball to Allen Lazard, his favorite guy. But it's like, there's drops. There's missed opportunities there. It's just the offense just can't get it going. For me, it's very frustrating, right, as a receiver, because I want to see them really doing what they want to do. And we talk all offseason, Aaron Rodgers is really going to change the game. And, 5 games in now, it just hasn't shown up.
You mentioned this a little bit earlier. The run game struggled to get going as well. 14 total rushes in this game. It was a little bit of a struggle for them last week as well. What do they need to kind of fix in the offense to get that run game going?
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I think that one thing that they could really do is just be a little bit more creative. I think this offense right now requires a lot of individual efforts, like really high individual efforts. You really have to make sure that as a person, you can't really get too much help. Everybody has to do their job, and I think the offensive coordinator could probably help them kind of be a little bit more creative, especially like 4th down and 2, right? A straight run up the gut. They're expecting that, right? Let's get on the edges, right? Let's create a little bit more motions. Let's make it a little bit more confusing for the defense. They're not really doing that right now. It's really just, hey, Aaron Rodgers, go back there, pick these guys apart, and receivers make plays.
But at the end of the day, right now, the Jets are 2-3 after 5 weeks. And, I saw this clip on Twitter where Peyton Manning's talking about his first year with the Denver Broncos, where the Broncos were 2-3, and he's saying similar things to what we're saying. Not really clicking. There's some things that are a little frustrating. They thought they were going to be really good out of the gate, and I know Aaron Rodgers was on the Jets last year, but this really is his first year with this team in live action for obvious reasons, considering he did not play last year outside of 4 snaps. So don't you think that, Quincy, this is really the growing pains of this offense? Like, look, I know that we live in a week-to-week league. You want to overanalyze if it's good, if it's bad. The Jets, when you look at this from like an overarching level here, they're 2-3.
Yep.
They still have a chance to compete in the division, let alone the conference. And also, you think about this, the Vikings were 4-0 entering today's game. They gave the Vikings a run for their money, and they did not play their brand of clean football.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think if I take off my analyst cap and put my player cap on, right, the sky's not falling, right? I think ultimately, right, you're still kind of gaining your identity as an offense. You're still trying to figure it out. Unfortunately, you would have loved to do that in training camp, but the way the season works now, a lot of guys don't play in preseason, right? You don't do a lot in training camp. It's a shorter training camp. So there's a lot of growing pains that happen in the beginning of the year. So you're going to see a lot of these teams really developing their identity in the beginning. And so until that kind of forms, we're going to see a lot of things that we're just not happy about. But ultimately, right, to be in a game that close with this team, that should be something that you should feel proud about because you're so close. If your offense can figure it out, you win that game.
Yeah, the defense had themselves quite a nice game today, as we've already mentioned before. But I do want to have one point on the offense. Everybody expects when you have all of this talent on offense coming in and you're building this roster and you have all the wide receivers, you have the running backs, you have this future Hall of Fame quarterback. They just expect it all to work because those parts are there. But as you guys have mentioned in other ways, the cohesion takes time, and that whole process is going to work itself out as the season goes on. But we're not forgetting that one member of our team was actually in London, so we're going to go check on Braelon Allen as he got to touch base with Jamie and Sherwood after the game.
Jamie, can you describe your emotions after climbing that mountain in the second half? It looked like you guys were going to pull off a comeback win, but fell short 23-17.
Things like this is just frustrating because we know we could have started out faster and played way better in the first half and stuff like that. We put ourselves in a little hole, but we came back strong. You know, the message of the day, the message of the week is always keep swinging. And so same thing as last week, when you come up short like that, like, you know, it hurts because you know how hard you work during the week and how much you prepared. And we just took this long trip. So it's just like it's very tough, though. But, you know, thing is we're going to regroup and we're going to get ready for next week.
Can you talk about the takeaways? You guys kept the offense in the game early, starting with Quincy's recovery off of that botched pitch from Darnold to the running back.
I mean, it's a complementary game, you know. Defense helps offense, offense helps defense, special teams help both of us. So, I mean, it all ties into each other, you know what I'm saying? Regardless if one's doing better than the other, it doesn't matter. So, I mean, anytime we can get a takeaway to give our offense great field position, you know, that means a lot to us, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, defense always wants to get off the field. And, again, whatever we can do to help our offense out, that's mandatory. Whatever we can do to help the special teams out is mandatory. So, you know, obviously that was a motivation booster for us. And I'm pretty sure we got points off that drive. I can't remember. But at the end of the day, it's a complimentary game. So whatever we can do, again, to help our offense is always important to us.
Speaking of that, can you talk about the resolve of the defense? You started your third consecutive game, obviously, in place of C.J. Mosley. Sauce Gardner went down during the game. He had to miss some action. You had Michael Carter the second go down. But you guys seem to rally around each other.
Most definitely. I mean, things are going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in our locker room always prepares like they're a starter. Like, from the day I got here to today, like, I never knew when I was going to see the field, but I always prepared for the moment. Brandon Echols has been here since I got here. He always prepares for the moment. Every time he gets his shot to go in, he always shines in it. Isaiah Oliver, he's a vet, you know what I'm saying? So he was definitely ready whenever his number was called. So, you know what I'm saying? Things are always going to happen during the game, no matter if it's rain, sleet, or snow. You know what I'm saying? Someone goes down, we're always prepared. And I feel like we have a really good defense because all of our backups are always prepared.
Finally, I got to imagine your money's always going to be on Aaron Rodgers late in the game. So if you're down 6 again, you want that guy in that situation.
Most definitely. You know, Aaron Rodgers is a GOAT, soon to be Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? You can't win them all. You know, it sucks at the end of the day, but, you know, he's my teammate. He's our quarterback, you know, and we all have full faith in him. We have full faith in everybody on the offense. And, again, you know, it sucks. I know he's mad as well, but, you know what I'm saying? We're just going to regroup and get ready for the next game.
Appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you.
Sherwood definitely having some raw emotion. He did lead the team, though, with 12 tackles. So he has been someone who has really stepped in to help out that linebacker group as C.J. Mosley has been dealing with his toe injury. But now we're going to move on to Quincy. You have some film that you're going to break down for us. You have a couple plays picked out, and let's walk us through what you saw on those plays.
Absolutely. So, I think defensively they did a great job today. Ultimately, they were the ones that really supported this team and led them. So we're going to kind of get into this right here. Will McDonald, man, really showing up. The sack exchange is back, right? So right here off the edge, he does a great job with his eyes. He sees that there's an action in the backfield that is not a run play. Now, let me make sure I stay in my angle. And watch this right here, right? So he goes where the quarterback is going, not where he's at. And it's a great job because now you can see Will McDonald's speed and length off the edge. He's a great guy off the edge. He's a great defender, a great sacker. He's doing a great job this year. Isaiah Oliver, DB blitzes. I love that they're doing this now, right? More blitzing this year. Two guys off the edge is usually what you don't want. So they do a good job. A little mix, a little game. Now you get Isaiah Oliver right off the edge, wide open, with the opportunity to sack Sam Darnold with nobody touching him. Just a great job, great defensive call right there. The defense is just doing a great job with their calls. Now, Michael Clemens. Now, we talk about Quentin all the time, right? He's not showing up. Why isn't he playing big? This is why, right here. He does a good job taking one and look at him. Two eyes on him gives Michael Clemens a clear shot to get the sack on Sam Darnold. A great job by the defense, great calls all around. And that's what you want to see going throughout the whole year is these guys continuing to get plays called for them and showing up.
Yeah, Ethan, what do you think of what Quincy just pointed out?
Well, I think that really the Jets defense played a sound game overall, and I know we're going to get into our grades later, but you just take a look at the sack numbers. Like the Jets had 4 sacks. Quincy broke down what Quinnen provides. Like Quinnen, although he doesn't have the sack numbers that we're accustomed to seeing, he's still garnering a lot of attention up front. And this Vikings offense, one, is very prolific, and two, it's a very good offensive line, which, by the way, Rich Eisen said this on the broadcast, all homegrown players. So the chemistry is there. And so I think for the Jets, and you talk about the defense, we've seen, like in the first 3 weeks, I think people were thinking, oh, well, I don't know about this Jets defense. Maybe it's taken a step back. That's not the case. The Jets defense really found its footing, especially in the second half of this game alone. I mean, you take a look at Sam Darnold's numbers. You're talking about this is his worst performance so far of the 2024 season. Sam Darnold completed 45.2% of his passes for 179 yards. This is the only game where he's not thrown for 2 touchdowns, let alone 0 touchdowns. Wow. He had an interception for a rating of 50.3. So I think this Jets defense, like Quincy pointed out, is playing at a high level. And once the offense finds its footing and the Jets are able to play some complementary football, then I think you'll really see the Jets pin its ears back and attack opposing quarterbacks like we're used to seeing.
Yes, most definitely. And the next time that the Jets defense will be pinning their ears back is for a Halloween showdown at MetLife Stadium. So Jets fans, secure your seats for that showdown at MetLife on Thursday, October 31st, when the Green and White host C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans, presented by Moody's. A limited number of single-game tickets are available at nyjets.com/tickets. I lied. That's not the next time you're going to see the Jets defense. The next time you're going to see them is Monday Night Football at MetLife Stadium. But even better, it's sooner.
And by the way, the Bills are losing 14-3 in Houston right now.
Real-time update.
So you were talking about the Texans, the Bills. We got a live update, 14-3 in Houston in the second quarter.
All right, let's take a look at our scoring summary from the game today. And I want to specifically, let's walk through each of these. Obviously, they got on the clock first, or the scoreboard first with the field goal. And then they got the Andrew Van Ginkel interception, pick 6. They got up 10, and then came the TD run. So then they had that 17-0 lead that we've been talking about. But then it really seemed like once Alan Lazard got that touchdown catch and Greg Zuerlein made that field goal, it started to pick up momentum. And this fourth quarter was really crazy because of the field goal and then the Garrett Wilson TD catch and really coming down to the wire, and it ending on that 23-17 score and that final interception.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, of course.
I want to go back to the beginning of that graphic if we can, because I really think that when you see it in listicle form, you can see the missed opportunities just in terms of points. You talk about the Andrew Van Ginkel 63-yard touchdown. If Quincy Williams scoops and scores and does not get tackled, you're probably looking, assuming Greg Zuerlein makes the extra point, you're looking at a 7-3 game. Even if that's not the case, and it's 10-3, okay? You take a look at the C.J. Ham touchdown. If Sauce Gardner picks off that football, C.J. Ham doesn't have an opportunity to score on the following play. So you're still looking at 10-3. So I think really in the first two quarters, is where you can see the missed opportunities and the meat on the bone, where if you're Robert Saleh, Quincy, like, what's the messaging from coaching staffs in your career where you have games like this where you have an opportunity late, but you also know that you had an opportunity to negate the damage earlier in the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's the old cliche, start fast, right? Like, how do you figure it out? I think that's one thing that I feel, as I've been here as an analyst, is how does Robert Saleh figure out how to get his guys to start fast? Because that's something that they've been lacking in, right? The defense does a good job. I think that they've really been defined by bend but don't break. They do a good job of kind of holding up. Then once it gets to the red zone, okay, we're only going to give you a field goal. But the offense has to figure out a way to start fast. What can we do? Maybe some special plays in the beginning, kind of getting the energy going, right? Like maybe a shot play, something like that, something to that effect where everybody's ready and knows like this play is going to be big, we're going to be excited, and that'll kind of carry us with a little bit more momentum into that next half.
You know, Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh has said this in the past, but Aaron Rodgers said this today in his press conference, like one of those things that we have really been trying to stress is starting fast, because we have just been consistently starting on the slower side. So where was that turning point in this game where you kind of started to see them, the offense specifically, playing a little bit more?
I think it was like right before the half, right?
Yeah.
The touchdown, right? They kind of had a little bit, I think they started with a shorter field, right? So then they were like, okay, you know, we have to figure out a way to get a touchdown here. And thankfully, you know, Aaron Rodgers had to move a little bit. You know, they had been blitzing so long, and on that play, actually, they decided to drop about 8 guys in the back. Yeah, they rushed 3, so there was 8 people back there. So he had to move. They knew they wanted to make sure that there was no way for you to get into the end zone. That was completely different from what they've been running, but because they had been putting so much pressure on them, now they couldn't do all that blitzing. So I think one of the biggest things is you have to figure out a way to combine that run in the pass, so that way you have a little bit more pressure on the defense. You can start a little bit faster, but they just can't figure it out right now. So guys can just put all this blitz in your face, and now what are you going to do?
Yeah, and obviously, as people knew going into this game, the Vikings had the second highest blitz rate in the NFL next to the Broncos. So the Jets saw the number 1 last week and now the number 2 blitz rate in the NFL. But we're going to go back to London and check in with Eric Allen again, who got to talk with Quincy Williams postgame.
Quincy, you knew this was going to be a tough opponent coming into this game. Vikings were undefeated. How tough is it when you fall behind by 17 points and then try to climb the hill?
Man, the biggest thing is, bro, teams like that, you can't be, like, you got to be at your best, bro, at all times, bro. Man, you got to take accountability when accountability is there, bro. Got to come to the sideline, fix things real fast, man. But the main thing is, bro, teams like that, you got to be on every single detail. Like, they're going to expose you no matter, like, they're going to continue running their stuff. So you just got to be on all your details, really.
Can you talk about your fumble recovery? It looked like you had an opportunity to score that.
Yeah, man, I just lost my balance on it. I mean, it is what it is. I was supposed to take that one to the house. Sam Donald ain't supposed to be able to tackle me, man.
If I told you before the game that you would have given up 16 points to the Vikings defensively, would you have took it?
Bro, we're a good defense, bro. We're going to continue to keep playing, bro. We're a good team, too, bro. So we're going to continue to keep playing, man. Go back to the drawing board, fix what we need to fix. But like I said, bro, a team like that, it ain't no margin for any, like, second thinking or something like that. You got to be on your detail.
How big of a play was that at 2010? Eccles comes up with interception and plus territory, and then Aaron takes you guys down the field, culminates that drive on the touchdown to Garrett Wilson.
Anytime we get a chance to get our offense the ball, man, to get a chance to score, bro, it's a big thing. So, like, that's our mindset, for real.
Can we talk about your resolve there defensively? Sherwood was starting a 3rd consecutive game in place of Mosley. You guys lost Sauce for a couple of possessions there in the second half. Michael Carter, the second, went down, and you guys just kept on balling out there.
Yeah, man, the defense is built, like, from the bottom all the way to the top. That's the main thing. And then during the week, we got guys who get their reps, but most of them get mental reps. And when they get in, we expect them to play like the ones that's in front of them. And, I mean, as you can see, they do that.
Can you talk about the belief on the sideline when you got a future Hall of Famer and Rodgers having the ball there and you're down 6? I got to imagine that you're thinking, we're winning this game.
Yeah, the mindset is we always got this one, man. Like I said, our job is to get the offense the ball as many times as possible. Had, a couple of turnovers, so gave our offense, that's our job right there.
So how would you sum it up? Disappointed, but again, the belief is still there.
It's one of them, man, it's one of them games where, like I said, it's kind of like a tough loss because it ain't like Them teams, like I said, them teams right there, man, you got to be on all your fundamentals, man. Like, you got to be detailed in everything you do.
Thanks, Quincy.
Appreciate you.
The Jets and Miller Lite are bringing you a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to upgrade your fan cave. Text the word upgrade to 26154 to enter for your chance to win an exclusive Miller Lite bar setup, Jets home accessories, and an autographed football signed by quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Ethan and Q, it's now time for some report cards. Let's start with the offense first. Quincy, guest of honor, go ahead.
Yeah, so last week I think I gave them a C+. This week I'm going with a C-. They just couldn't get it done for me. Very disappointing offensively. I think, like I said earlier, it's really dependent on Aaron Rodgers really making big plays, the receivers making big plays, the running backs figuring it out. And that, I don't know how sustainable that is in the beginning, right? I think they need to figure out a way to just create more plays to help guys get open. Now, I do like what they did with Garrett Wilson. They were moving him around. They gave him a little bit more of a route tree. He had made comments during the week, and we got to see that today. They were spreading the ball around again. Just right now is just not very cohesive. They're still trying to figure things out. So I gave them a C- because it just wasn't enough at the end of the game.
I'm similar to Quincy. I'm going with a C because anytime you turn the football over 3 times, which is very uncharacteristic of Aaron Rodgers for someone who has the best touchdown to interception ratio in NFL history, to me, that's uncharacteristic. But again, in terms of this game alone, it didn't do the job for the Jets. They fell by 6 points. Rodgers said it. Anytime you lose by 6 and you have 3 picks, you're going to be looking at yourself, and it's not up to his standard. It's not up to the Jets' standard. To Quincy's point, the Jets did get Garrett Wilson involved. He had 13 catches for 101 yards. He found the end zone, and you started to see like little glimpses, like at the end of the half with Allen Lazard, like what this offense could look like, especially when you need it. Even late in the game when the Jets had an opportunity to win. Mm-hmm. Like Quincy Williams told EA, like he's expecting on the sideline, 8's going to go down and we're going to put this in the end zone. And it just never happened for the Jets, which is why I'm sticking with a C.
I will add that I thought it was really special to see how much they moved Garrett Wilson around. It was really nice. Aaron Rodgers did emphasize that he did feel like it was a really bad game for himself because of those 3 picks, 2 coming in the first quarter, which he has never done before in his career. So very uncharacteristic of him. Yeah. Quincy, what about your defensive grade?
Yeah, real quick, one more thing I want to add is like the issue. Another issue with the offense is, when the run game is not able to go, then you're pressing on the passing game, right? And so that's where those first 2 picks came, especially that second one. You throw it high because you're pressing. You want to make a big play, like I'm making mistakes. I want to make big plays. The run game's not working. Then that one when Van Kinkel caught it, that's another one where the run game's not helping you get closer. So now you have 3rd and long. Now they can just blitz, right? And when they create that pressure look, it's hard for you to know who's staying for the blitz and who's going out into coverage. So yeah, it's a challenging game right now. They need more balance. Mm-hmm. Defensively, I gave these guys a B+. I adjusted it. At first it was a B. I gave them a B+. I really like what they're doing. They're adding some variety. DB blitzes, right? They're doing a lot of stunts and games on the defensive line. The linebackers are playing well. Safety's playing well, right? You saw Tony Adams making plays in the pass game. Chuck Clark with a big play on 3rd down on Justin Jefferson. So guys are showing up. It's really encouraging, I think, as a team when you know that your guys can make plays. The reason why I didn't go into the A territory is because, yes, I know the refs are throwing some BS flags, but you just can't keep it too close, right? Because the refs, sometimes they might be feeling good today. They might not be feeling. They might not have had enough fun in London, right? So they really wanted to take it out on the Jets DBs, and so you just can't even give it in their hands.
That's coming from a receiver, by the way.
Yeah.
You're giving the DBs some love.
I have to, man. Listen, I'm actually a defensive player at heart, so yeah. That's why I played it the way I did. I should have played safety, but I'm not gonna go into that.
Yeah, that's a conversation for another time. I did go in the A range for the Jets defense. I went with an A- because you think about what this Jets defense was able to do against a top 10 offense that had the most touchdowns in the NFL. C.J. Ham, touchdown, and then an Andrew Van Ginkel score on defense. So for me, when you look at the stats and you look at what this Jets defense was able to do, especially in the second half, I know the Vikings did not have Aaron Jones for the majority of this game, but the Jets defense did its job in terms of providing the offense with opportunities to take the lead late, to tie the game late, and it just didn't happen for the Jets. But as a unit, I really think that this defense really, I don't want to say stood on business, but it was close because with the way that they played, Sauce Gardner battling with a head injury. Michael Carter II dealing with a hamstring injury that Robert Saleh said took place in pregame warmups. The Jets' depth pieces, like Isaiah Oliver, like Brandon Echols, kept meeting the standard of this top 5 defense that's been top 5 the past 2 seasons. And so I think that, again, we're looking at this from a Jets lens. I think from a Vikings lens, they're giving a lot of credit to their defense being like, you know what, happy that we got out of this one with a victory. And I think that really that's in large part because of how good this Jets defense played.
100%. You're completely correct on the depth. I think people overlook that a lot of the time because someone like a nickel cornerback like Michael Carter II doesn't get as much credit as he maybe deserves all the time just because of the position innately. But yeah, as you were mentioning, Quincy, 8 penalties for 76 yards. So that number's got to go down. It's
exactly.
Yeah, it's avoidable. What about special teams?
Special teams, I think I gave them an A. But let me make sure.
You did.
Yes. So A, right? I mean, special teams, they just continue to show up. Coach Boyer, they're a pretty well-coached special teams unit. The Wolf, right? That's his nickname. He does a great job, no matter where he's at on the field, whether it's as a punt, as a punt rusher or as a gunner, right? He's making plays. He almost had a big play for special teams, right? That would have been great if it didn't bounce off of him. It bounced off the defender. So, I love watching him play because he uses his size and his speed so well. That's a unique combination that he does a good job of going out there and making a difference. That's a guy that will be a special teams Pro Bowler, right? And that's the second guy on this team that's done it. Actually, third, right? This is the third straight season, right, that they've had somebody be special teams Pro Bowler. I mean, I'm just predicting it right now, right?
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so, I think special teams is great, and so I had to give them an A.
I'm also going with an A, partly because of the Wolf as an Irvin Charles. And what the play Quincy was talking about really could have been a game changer where he's running stride for stride with the guy that's guarding him. And he pushes him essentially into the returner. The ball, unfortunately, bounces off of Irv Charles, not the purple jersey. If it did bounce off of a Vikings player, Brandon Echols scooped it. It would have been Jets ball deep in Minnesota territory. So that was a great play. The Xavier Gipson big return that set up the touchdown before the end of the half. It was a 31-yard return. That was a big play for the Jets that sparked the offense. So you factor that in. Greg Zuerlein didn't miss a field goal. Thomas Morstead had a 56-yard punt. 1 touchback, 2 inside the 20. There's really not a whole lot to nitpick there. So I think that an A is the right grade for the special teams of the New York Jets.
Yeah, special teams had themselves quite a nice day. But we're going to go back again to London. Last time we'll check in with Eric Allen. He talked to running back Braelon Allen after the game and his thoughts on the Jets' performance.
Braelon, how difficult is it for you guys offensively when you fall behind the 8 ball?
I mean, of course, you never want to be in that position, but, it's just about fighting and, playing like to score 0-0 at all times, and I feel like that's what we did.
Can you speak to the defense's effort to keep you guys in the game, especially early?
Yeah, they played a great game, and, a couple of things didn't go our way, and, that happens, so it's just about playing complementary football. They were there for us, so at the end of the day, we gotta come through for them too. And special teams is the same. So I thought they played their absolute best.
From your perspective, the 3rd down and the 4th down in the first half, those 3rd and short and 4th and short, were they just loading up the box on you there? It didn't seem like you had anywhere to go.
Yeah, that's pretty much it exactly. So just do what you can, and don't go anywhere but forward. So that's what I try to do, and sometimes there's not much else you can do.
In that 4th quarter, 20-10, how big of a moment could have that been? Echols' interception. You guys came right down the field. You score on the touchdown from Rodgers to Garrett there, and it's 2017.
I felt like that was a pivotal part in the game for us, and it was a great drive, and just kind of shifted the momentum a little bit. And that's like we said, the defense coming up big, and us having their back. We know when they do, so it was a great play by B.
Can you speak to Garrett's effort out there today? He had 13 catches. I think that was the most by a Jets receiver since 1988 in a road game.
Jeez, yeah, he played a great game, and I think we've all known that what Garrett is, how special he is. So I think that's something that we should try to do it. Of course, I know we try to call plays for him and whatnot, and sometimes, it don't go the way we want, but, it's about, in my opinion, as many times as somebody like that should touch the ball, so it's good to see.
And lastly, I just want to end with this. You guys got the ball. It's 23-17. You got Rodgers leading the way, a Hall of Fame quarterback. How much confidence does the offense have in that situation that you guys are going to go down and score?
Yeah, all of it in the world. We've seen that too many times, especially myself. Seen it way too many times, and I'm sure the Minnesota fans watching were shaking their boots a little bit too. So, unfortunately today we didn't get it done, but we have all the trust in the world in him.
And would you say that about the entire group, that it's disappointing that you're leaving London with the loss? But with that being said, you think better days are ahead?
Yeah, it's this going to be the same message for me regardless whether we win or lose. Get back to work, focus on the corrections that we need to make, and come back next week ready to go.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Monday Night Football, circle it on your calendars. An AFC East showdown presented by HubSpot as the Jets take on their division rivals, Josh Allen and the Bills. October 14th, under the lights. Lock in your seats now. Limited single-game tickets are available at nyjets.com/tickets. Now, guys, before we go into our final thoughts of the game, I do have to mention Aaron Rodgers did pass that 60K passing yards mark, making him the 9th quarterback in NFL history to do so. Obviously not the end result that the Jets wanted, but this is something that is such an impressive feat that we have to talk about it. Quincy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, amazing. And it's cool to be able to witness it as he's a Jet, right? I think you watched him for so many years doing it with Green Bay. So for him to reach 60,000 as a Jet, it's awesome, and hopefully he can continue to create more memories here as a Jet.
I think that it would have been really cool had it come on the Allen Lazard touchdown at the end of the half. Yeah. He was 1 yard shy heading into halftime. And so, if this is the play, look, you think about Allen Lazard's first touchdown of the season was Aaron Rodgers' first touchdown as a Jet. I believe it was Allen Lazard who caught Rodgers' first touchdown at MetLife Stadium against the Patriots in Week 3. To have it, be a trio of Allen Lazard touchdowns would have been really cool, but it also would have been cool just to have it on a touchdown. And then, of course, later in the game, Aaron Rodgers finds Garrett Wilson for the Jets' other touchdown. But it's really incredible when you think about what Aaron Rodgers has been able to accomplish throughout a 20-year career. And I think that his Jets story is just being written now, because what we've seen through 5 games, and I know we've talked about it ad nauseum a little bit here, I think moving forward, everyone has the confidence that this Jets team will find a way. Considering what you said, Caroline, the talent on the offense is still there. It just hasn't been able to be fully on its potential.
100%. And, his name was up there with some of the greats, with Dan Marino, Drew Brees. So we'll see him hopefully continue to climb that ladder this year. That would be special. Yeah. Quincy, any last thoughts that you want to put on the table before we wrap up today?
I think this was actually an encouraging loss. Right? I'm looking at the silver lining. I know throughout the whole press conference, all the coaches, the players were all saying, we don't want to have silver linings. We don't want to look at the positives, right? We can think about those things later. But honestly, when you think about a team that's 4-0, now 5-0, Vikings, that plays well on defense, plays well on offense, when you come down to the wire against that team, that means that you're getting there, right? And I think it was a little bit far-fetched to think that the Jets will start this year as a Super Bowl contending team, right? They still have to learn. They still have to grow. Aaron Rodgers has to warm up. He hasn't played in over a year. So thankfully, the first 4 games weren't all divisional games, right? You won your one divisional game. You have another one coming up. Take it week by week, and ultimately you can see where you're at when you look up at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I think for me, you think about what Quincy just said about the team not being a little far-fetched, as in the chemistry just starting right from the jump. I know it might be a little cliche to think about Tom Brady going to the Buccaneers and Peyton Manning going to the Broncos in their respective careers, not only because they won Super Bowls, but just because they're in the same echelon of quarterback that is Aaron Rodgers. It takes time to get used to catching a football from a guy like that. And the chemistry perspective, like Quincy was talking about, it takes time. Yeah. And so through 5 games, the Jets are 2-3. Is it the start that the Jets or the fans wanted? Not necessarily. I would say no. But when you take a look at what's to come for the Jets, like I said earlier, they can still compete with the Buffalo Bills. We'll see what happens next Monday night at MetLife Stadium. And I think that the Jets have the talent to compete. We've talked about it. People outside of this room who analyze the Jets talk about it week to week. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Aaron Rodgers, the pieces up front, the defense, Sauce Gardner and company. Like, there are so many pieces and so many reasons why this Jets team can be successful. Just going to take a little bit of time. And they went wire to wire in terms of today. They went or toe to toe, should I say, with an undefeated team. And they didn't play their best brand of football. They turned the ball over 3 times. One of them resulted in 7 points, and they lost by 6. So I think that there's a lot of reason to be hopeful as a Jets fan when you look at the way that this team has performed so far, and really when you're taking a look at October, November, and December. That's really when teams start to find their groove and make a run.
Yeah, so we'll be monitoring that, especially this week, because the Jets will have one extra day of rest because their next game is Monday Night Football against the Bills at MetLife. So that's all from us today. Jets Overtime presented by SiriusXM. But the next time you'll see us, we will be live from MetLife Stadium taking on those AFC East Division rivals. We'll see you then.